What's up, gun nerds? Jonathan back here with Firebox Campaign. I have a cool Palmetto State Armory AK-47. This is their G5 with the ALG trigger. We're going to go over what makes this a great value for your money. Any problems I've had about 1,000 rounds through this bad boy now. I put it through some competitions, and I'm going to share with you what I experienced and if it's worth it for you to spend your money on. Let's get to it. Also, for this review, I had some malfunctions with the magazines, and they were Bulgarian magazines I got off of Gun Mag Warehouse. I think they were failure to feeds. They were involved in a competition I did where the gun wouldn't cycle, and I had to remove the magazine, strip the round, and then reinsert and get back to work. But I have 3 different types here that I want to try. I have Magpul, I have that Bulgarian magazine, and then I'm not sure which one this is. It was given to me. If you can make out that label, let me know what kind of magazine this is. But we're going to run 3 different types of mags, see if we have any malfunctions. Let's put some rounds on target. So we're going to start with the Magpul. This is a fully loaded 30-round magazine. I'm only about 10 yards out. We're just going to put a couple rounds on a couple transitions here. Holy shit, that ALG trigger is fucking light. I love that to death. Let's do that again. That was in a 1.97. A little slow on the uptake there. I'm a little cold today. But the Magpul mag seems to be running fine. Let's put a couple more rounds. Little trigger freeze. That's me as a shooter, not the gun. Now for the Bulgarian magazine that I did have issues with in the competition. It doesn't seat as well as the Magpul, but it still locks into place. So no failures to feed there. Let's go again. Still running okay. It's in a 1.92. Getting a little faster. 1.83. Hold that one high and right. 1.59. Bulgarian magazine in this case seems to be running pretty good. All right, so again, I don't know what kind of magazine this is. If you can see that label, let me know down in the comments. But this is the last one. We're going to run it through. That one clicks into place a little bit smoother than that Bulgarian one. Kind of more similar to the Magpul. Little trigger freeze on my part, but seem to be running okay. A little slow. A little better. 1.5. Seems to be running good. .45. All right, so this magazine seems to be running okay. I didn't put a ton of rounds through it, but it's sticking. There we go. Again, let me know if you know what kind of magazine that is, because I do like it. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there are going to be like, Dead Air sucks, they're horrible. Well, I haven't had any issues with mine, and I've put hundreds of rounds through this. It is still relatively new. This is a 30 cal can. I've run it on this gun, my AR-15, and I haven't had any problems. I put chemo muzzle brakes on most of my rifles, so I can interchange this with all of them. But let's see what she does. Suppressed. That's pretty cool. I do like that a lot. Let's go again. I will say that the recoil impulse changes a little bit with the suppressor. You don't have that 360 brake to disperse the gases, so it is a little bit more direct blowback, and I see a little bit more muzzle rise. Little trigger freeze on my part. Alright guys, so as you can see from the range footage, this gun actually is a lot of fun to shoot. The Palmetto State Armory AK-47, this is the GF5, and you can tell by the stamp there on the receiver, that is the GF5 model. It does come with some Palmetto State markings underneath, And we're going to go over this, guys, and give you a good rundown of what it comes with, what I like about it, and a few things I don't like about it. So real quick, I just want to give a quick thank you to all the new subscribers. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel, just click that join button down below. Comment, like, subscribe, all that cool stuff. Without further ado, let's get into this. We're just going to kind of do a tip to butt review and go over some of the features this thing comes with. So out of the box from the factory, it came with a slant brake. And I did like this brake. It worked pretty good, but I wanted to be able to run a suppressor, so I switched that out. And I'm currently running a dead air 360 brake that's chemo adapted. So I can run my dead air suppressor that you guys saw in the range footage there. And this gun cycle is suppressed and unsuppressed just fine. No malfunctions either way. I did notice some accuracy changes though at 100 yards when I put on the suppressor. I was hitting high and then all of a sudden I was hitting low. So this is my first group at 100 yards. I was aiming here. I'm about 4 inches high, so that's probably what you could expect out of a 36 yard zero. This one I pulled probably, so that's more or less the group. Interesting to note, once I put on the suppressor, my group shifted down. My point of aim was here because I was hitting high. Wanted to try and more centralize it, but the suppressor actually threw my zero off quite a bit. The groups are roughly about the same, but just interesting to note. And these threads are 14x1 left-handed, so finding something that fits that thread pitch was a little challenging for me, but overall I went with this because I had the Dead Air Sandman S and I wanted to run that suppressed. The front sight post I did have some problems with. In Lethal Weapons, I shot this in a competition. That was the main reason that I bought it, and the front sight post actually came loose. So you can see the front pin in there. The threads were pretty loose to begin with. You need an adjustment tool in order to adjust the windage and elevation. And I had to thread lock that in place. Otherwise, every time I shot it, it would screw up and I lost my zero, which kind of sucked during the middle of the competition. But what are you going to do? Kentucky windage it at that point. The piston here is adjustable for your windage and again the elevation. And I had no problems once I got the AK sight tool sighting this into spec. There's a few differences that make this an AKM rather than AK-47, and one of them is this vertical sight post. AK-47s typically have a rounded hood, which this is an open sight, and they are also a little bit more slanted, I guess. This one's a little bit more vertical, so this is actually an AKM, technically not an AK-47. We'll go over some differences here in a minute. The front gas block is 45-degree angle. I have no problems with cycling issues. It ran everything I put it through. And through this gun, I was running mostly steel cased for its majority of its life. Just tool ammo. I think this is 121 grain. I'll correct that if I'm wrong. But yeah, just steel cased ammo. I did run some brass Winchester white box stuff through it. And everything ran pretty smooth. I didn't have any problems with that. Only malfunctions that I did have, which we'll talk about real quick, is with some of these Bulgarian magazines. These, when you load them, the rounds don't feel like they sit inside this magazine quite snug as compared to, let's say, the Magpul. I like these better. I was more reliable. It did have a little malfunctions, failures to feed mostly. It wouldn't catch the round and seed into the chamber. So if there was a malfunction, it was completely magazine related and not the gun. But getting back into the rifle, it does come with a FN barrel that is cold hammer forged chrome moly vanadium steel, and it is chrome lined. So Palmetto State did a really good job putting a quality barrel in this, and I don't have to worry about concentricity issues as opposed to other AKs that come from other countries. Since it was American made, the threads were in line. But if you are going to suppress an AK-47, I do highly suggest getting an alignment rod, or you can take out the bolt and carrier, and then you can shine a light down in the end and look straight through the barrel. That's one trick if you don't have an alignment rod. But concentricity issues with this haven't been an issue. It does come with a cleaning rod for the GF5, which I do like. I haven't used it yet, but it is there if I need it. And it does have a bayonet lug attachment on it as well. If that's something you want to do, you can throw a bayonet on there and look super rad. I bought all black polymer furniture for this, and it came with this lower handguard, which isn't super sexy or super impressive by any means, but it does have a heat shield in there, and this thing gets hot if you shoot it a lot. So the heat shield actually did a pretty good job of keeping that cool in my hand. But after a lot of shooting, I would recommend putting a glove on so you don't burn yourself, because this area gets super hot. So for this rifle, I did happen to purchase at the last competition I was at a lower rail handguard. So I wanted something that I could put a vertical grip on. This is a BCM Shorty, and I love this thing. A lot of people cut them. I lose the capacity to use the storage underneath. So at this point, I haven't cut it. It hasn't gotten in the way of anything, so I'll probably just leave it alone. But I do like this. I forget the name of it. I'll throw it in description if I can remember. It was from a vendor there. It ran about $100, so I just went ahead and picked one up. It does fit super snug in there. The fitment was good. I didn't have to file or adjust anything. Sometimes if you go with aftermarket furniture for AK-47s, the fitment isn't always 100%, so you might have to do a little bit of engineering to fit it to your rifle. The top handguard I have left is the polymer that it came with. Again, it came with this lower black one, so you can kind of see maybe how it looked originally. Just not all that sexy in my opinion, but I have left this one in place. I do plan on maybe taking this off and putting a cheese grater on there, because I do kind of like the aesthetics of the cheese grater handguards. Getting into the rear sight, it is your typical AK style rear leaf sight. There's really nothing special about it. It does its job just fine. I have seen some other reviews where this was loose and the retaining spring underneath wasn't catching, and then when they shot, the leaf actually moved up and down. But I haven't had any problems with this. It's been pretty good. It does come with your, let's see if we can focus. It does come with your 0 all the way out to 800 meters. Not that an AK-47 is capable of shooting at 800. Probably going to have to aim quite a bit above your target if you plan on shooting that far. But it did its job just fine. And in that lethal weapons competition, it was iron sights only. And again, I did have problems with that front sight post coming loose and losing my 0, which Kentucky windage is okay, but at 200 yards, that was quite the challenge. The receivers on these PSA AK-47s, or AKMs rather, are actually really well engineered. PSA did a good job ensuring the front and rear trunnions were supported and made of high quality steel. So these are actually forged 4340 aircraft quality front trunnion and rear trunnion. The safety lever on this is extended, and that comes standard with the GF5 series. I'm not sure about the GF3 or 4s. The GF5 is just their 5th generation, the 3 and 4, the 3rd and 4th, and so on. But it has that extended lever on there, which is really nice, so you don't have to use your whole hand to reach up and hit that safety lever on a standard AK. When I bought this, this was a blemished version, and coming out of the box, I didn't see any blemishes on this, except for where the safety had scratched the receiver. But I mean, that's going to happen regardless. So if that's their blemish, I got a pretty good deal on this. I got a couple $100 off. Right now, this time of the video, I think these rifles run around $1,000, 900 and something. You can get them for. And for what you get out of this, it's actually not a bad deal, because your front, rear trunnions, the carrier, the bolt, everything is cold hammer forged. So they really went into detail on the internals of these to make sure you get high quality parts. Went ahead and pulled the carrier, bolt, and recoil spring out. Your recoil spring on this is just standard recoil AK-47 spring. There's really nothing crazy about it. I am starting to get a little bit of wear up top. Nothing to be concerned about, I don't think. And this has about 1,000 rounds through it. I ran it through, again, lethal weapons competition down near Houston, Texas, and the bolt and carrier are doing just fine. I have cleaned this once. Just had a range session today for this video, so it's a little dirty, but you'll see that the wear patterns on this are rolling in just fine. There is a little issue that I don't even know if it's an issue. Right there on the bolt, you can see where it might be getting a little bit delaminated. You guys let me know down in the comments if you think that's a problem, but I haven't had any cycling issues, and this bolt and carrier are super smooth. The action on this is really nice. PSA, and then you guys are going to have to teach me this one, engineers these in the com block style, and I'm not 100% sure what that means, but the front trunnion, the carrier, the bolt, and everything is com block with, again, hammer forged bolt and carrier and trunnions. And they call that an AQ-4340 trunnion for max durability. So let me know down in the comments, guys, educate me on com block. I'm not 100% familiar. This is, again, my first AK-47, so I'm still learning about it. So it's my understanding that in original AK-47s do not have stamped receivers. You'll notice the rivets and the lack of a lightning cut here. So this is a stamped receiver. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe original AK-47s came from a billet and they were all milled. So that's another factor that makes this an AKM over an AK-47. Now the rear stock on this isn't anything super fancy. Again, I got their black polymer version, so it's just a black polymer stock. It does its job, it functions well. It is a little thin, so it kind of digs into your shoulder a little bit. So after a long day of shooting, it can get a little uncomfortable. I do plan on switching this out to something aftermarket. If you have any suggestions for me, go ahead and drop that in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Back of the stock, you'll notice a sling mount. And again, what makes it an AKM? I believe AK-47s, the sling mount was more forward. And it does come with a sling mount attachment up here on the front of the handguard as well. The trigger that comes with the GF5 model is the ALG trigger. And this thing is very, very nice. It's light, it's crisp, comes with that lightning cut in there, kind of loosens up the weight, I guess. But this trigger is pretty phenomenal. This gun's clear. We'll give it a pull here, and I'm going to do a quick pound test. I've done my Wheeler trigger scale pull here. We'll give it a little pull. And that broke in at just over 3 pounds. You can see that. We'll give it one more go. And again, just over 3 pounds. So 3.5 pound trigger. Magazines I've been running, again, as you saw in the range footage, just some standard mag pull stuff. And this is your Rock and Lock. And I will say that when I originally got this, the mag release was super tight. I really had to push down and force that out. But I since have taken a little bit of a file and kind of smoothed that out where it rubs on the magazine. The magazines now just go in and release just fine. I don't have any problems anymore with any of those magazines sticking. They all work pretty flawlessly, and that magazine release is now super better. Lastly, I just forgot to talk about the grip. I'm not a huge fan of the grip. It's a little thin. And it doesn't have a huge amount of texture around it. I don't have really a problem with my hand slipping off of this, but in the future I will probably switch out the buttstock and also the grip. If you have any suggestions, drop that in the comments. Love to hear it. All right, everybody, so there you have it. The Palmetto State Armory AK-47 GF5 with the ALG trigger. This is a pretty tits little setup. So if you like this stuff, give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe. And if you want to help out the channel, click that join button down below. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.